Hi folks, today I'd like to show you how to load new Google Fonts into your web template. The first thing we're going to do is go to our web browser, fire it up, go to google.com and just type in Google Fonts. Okay, let's go to the Google Fonts website, usually the first one that shows up. Great. Now what you can do is go through the list of fonts displayed here, find the one you want to use. Okay, let's settle on this one right here, this Feckle Face, just because it sounds cool. All right, we'll just click on this Quick Use tab right here. It'll take you over to the next page. This little indicator is kind of cool. It shows you the impact on page load time, and if you're in the green, that's pretty good. That's where you want to be. There are other font types that have all sorts of options here, and as you add more options for bold, super bold, thin, Peely Wally, all sorts of things like that, then that sort of ramps up the old page load time. And as far as I'm concerned, just load in what you need. And some of the fonts only give you one option anyway, so that's even better. All right, after that, we're going to scroll right on down here. Now, here's the fun part. There are different ways that you can add fonts to your site. I'm going to show you two of them. All right, there's the standard method where you link directly to the Google font family. And basically what this does is it downloads the font into a specific web page. I'll show you an example here. I'll open up the Echo template, and this is one of the templates where we loaded the font directly into the top of the page. I'll just scooch that over, scroll on down until we find the old Google links. There they are right now. So this is actually a slightly more effective method in terms of download speed. What that means is if we load the font directly into the page with a link like this, you can load multiple font types in, and it will load those style sheets in as well as every other style sheet on the page at the same time. So your site actually loads just a little smidgen faster than the second method, and I'll show you that in a second. And that is the import option. Okay, so the import option, you take this little piece of code right here, you just copy it, you go to your site and you find an existing style sheet, and we always have them in the site styles folder, and you can use the styles or the components or the fonts.css if you have one, pretty much any style sheet that's loaded in any page. So we'll stick with the styles.css here, right? And up at the very top, what you would do is you would put the import and then the Google font. Now this is a super effective method of adding a new font to your site because you only have to add it in one location. Whereas if you are linking it in at the top of your page like so, you have to add that to every single page. Well, you think to yourself, well, what's the big difference here? I would rather just have to do it once than go through every single page in my site. Well, the reason we've added these Google fonts into every single page in some cases is because it loads faster. As simple as that. And we're talking maybe seconds, no, not seconds, milliseconds difference, but faster is still faster. So from an overall standpoint, most people won't be changing the fonts in their site, so we may as well load them in the most efficient manner possible, and this is the most efficient manner as far as site loading goes. As far as changing the fonts, it's the least efficient manner. If you want to change or add new fonts, the most efficient manner at that point in time, just for the sake of not having to go through every single page and change things, is to actually just use the import URL and pop it right into your styles or your fonts or your components. Like I said, any style sheet that loads into all of your pages, and you can usually tell that by looking right here under the theme.css. It tells you styles, components, mobile. All those style sheets load in to every single page, right? So those are the two different methods of loading fonts into the site, and the two different reasons why you would see this. One is for faster loading if you put it into the page like so, whereas this one here, the import, that means you only have to add it to one page and it's applied to every single thing across the site. Now if you're wondering, well, why is one faster than the other? I'll answer that question because somebody might ask that. When you have links to style sheets like so, you can actually load all these style sheets into the page at one time. Like I said, you can load up to 10 or 12. It really depends on where your site's hosted in your server, but you can load multiple files at once, and they almost load instantaneously. Whereas if you use the import, what happens is this command gets run. It goes to the Google website, loads the font in, then after this is loaded, all the rest of this stuff in the page starts to load after it. So basically it has to wait for the font to load before anything else in the style sheet loads in. So that's why it's slightly faster to use this method here, because it loads in line with everything else in this style here, kind of like that Christmas tree bulb, that one bulb that burns out and everything stops working. Well, this method here, it kind of has to do its thing first before it will allow anything else to work. So that's the reason why. Now, we've gotten past that, showing you how to load in two different font types. For example, if I wanted to use the standard, I would just simply copy this link here. I would go back to my editor, I go into my individual page, find an editable region. It doesn't even have to be the fonts region. It can be anywhere that you can paste something, and depending on your editor, it'll show up as an area like blue here, and usually it starts with the instance begin editable, but for us, we actually have a place for our fonts which we can paste right here. That's it. Now we'll load that Freckleface font into this one particular page. If we want to do it for the entire site, of course, we're going to switch to the import, copy that entire line, go to a style sheet, and we're going to paste it right up top here like I showed you earlier. Now, in order to make the whatever component, and we'll use the website name as an example, if we want to change the font for the website name or the logo, now we actually have to go and find that particular component. In this case, it'll be in the components.css, and there's the font family right here. We need to change the font family to display that new font that we're loading in. To do that, we go back to our Google website, scroll down a little bit, and right here we see the font family right here. And once again, we just sort of scrub over, we copy, we go back to our website, find the element we want to update, and in this case the website name, we just find where it has the font family, and then we just sort of scrub right over top and paste in place. So now we have font family, Freckleface, or cursive. So if for any reason the Google font doesn't load, it'll use a standard cursive font, which is typically Comic Sans or something like that in place. And that's it. And of course, it doesn't matter which method you use, either the import or the direct link. Once you have loaded that font into the page or into the site via a style sheet, you can now apply this font family to any element of any component in any style sheet in your site.